Asians are thriving more than ever before, especially when it comes to the world of comedy and entertainment. I'm talking about mainstream British Asians like Paul Chowdhry, who are really smashing it right now, and the likes of Shazia Mirza, who are really paving the way for women out there. Now, today I'm super excited because I'm outside one of the top venues in London where many of these Brit Asians have shared the stage. I'm going on a journey to find out how sizzling the Brit Asian comedy scene really is. With the landmark sketch show Goodness Gracious Me that things really springboarded for Brit Asian comedy. Asian American comedians performed innovative sketches and enacted comic scenes based on this real amalgamation of Indian and British cultures merging together. So the four main British Asian actors who blew up on our screens were Sanjeev Bhaskar, Kulvinder Ghir, Meera Syal and Wadia. Weren't they amazing? Now, it really rang home and it had all these sort of stereotypical views on, views from back home, from the complaining old grannies and the auntie Gs to those white India-obsessed gypsies and hippies, should I say. It really took off and it really resonated with the British Asian audiences. For the first time, British Asian comedy had prime time television. Soon followed the Kumars at number 42. Now, this was directed by Sanjeev Bhaskar, and it really was a masterpiece in its own right as well. It was about this aspiring TV host who had these celebrities visiting his home, and then the celebrities ended up speaking more to his family than to him. Now, this show was so good that it even won an international Emmy back in 2002. Of course, that was followed by Adil Ray's Citizen Khan. Let's just face it, that really was in a league of its own, wasn't it?
Where's my tea? I've got to go. There's no milk in my chai.
We've run out. Nani had the last of it. She likes milky chai.
I can think of one immigrant I'd like to send home.
It was about this stereotypical British Pakistani Muslim, this loudmouth, patriarchal, cricket-loving, self-obsessed community leader. Now, this show really was all about the trials and tribulations of this lead character and all the miseries, of course, that his wife had to endure, as well as his two daughters. Adil Ray Citizen Khan really blew up, and arguably, it's thanks to shows like these that British Asian comedics have really found their niche today. So one of the Brit Asian names which is doing superbly out there in the stand-up comedy scene right now is actor and comedian Paul Chowdhry. The UK's most controversial Asian comedian, Paul Chowdhry is seen as quite the bad boy entertainer of the Brit comedy scene right now and is regarded as this outspoken nemesis of wholesome traditional Asian comics.
It's dangerous doing these kinds of jokes. I get death threats on a daily basis from Zayn Malik's family.
Since he began his career in 1998, he's managed to build one of the most diverse audiences of any current stand-up, partly through the subversive use of social media. On TV, Paul has hosted Stand Up for the Week on Channel 4 and twice headlined live at the Apollo for BBC One and Two. He's also been a much-loved contestant on the third series of Dave's multi-award nominated hit show Taskmaster. Paul also appeared 4 times on Channel 4's comedy gala at the O2 Arena and has regularly appeared on shows such as the Russell Howard Hour on Sky, Roast Battle on Comedy Central and Celebrity Antiques Road Trip on BBC Two, alongside Al Murray. Indeed, Paul does have lots of niche jokes about Gujaratis and uses what I call liberal sprinkling of Punjabi swear words. However, with his political views and comments on gypsies and homosexuals and also the French, Paul's been attacked somewhat online and has even received death threats. This comedian, however, is still rising above any naysayers. And I think he must be doing something very right after having his tour called Live In It, now on Amazon Prime streaming, and also being sold out every single time.
You know I'm now like the most famous, unfamous person in England. You know I sold out Wembley on this tour.
Online, Paul is a prolific presence on social media. His videos have been viewed over 35 million times on Facebook alone. He's been described as the greatest British Asian comedian of all time.
Basic comedy is a contemporary art form. So whatever's happening, people talking about the coronavirus right now, because the coronavirus is happening right now. So people get up on stage and talk about that. It's just a very contemporary thing. So whatever happens, happens. You know, comedy just plays off society, and society plays back to comedy. It's a sort of two-way process, really.
British Asian stand-up comedian and actor Romesh Ranganathan from Crawley in West Sussex is pretty much everywhere these days, isn't he? His self-satirical style involves his wife, his kids, and pretty much all things culture. Now, what's so amazing about Romesh's journey is that he started out performing as a comedian when he was working as a maths teacher at a school in Crawley. Ramesh was nominated for Best Newcomer at the 2013 Edinburgh Comedy Awards. He's also made numerous appearances on comedy panel shows. In 2016, he co-presented It's Not Rocket Science on ITV alongside Rachel Riley and Ben Miller. He's also presented comedy programs Judge Romesh and The Ranganation. His autobiography is called Straight Outta Crawley and is pretty good. Regularly performing at venues across the UK, including UK's highest rating comedy club, the Top Secret Comedy Club, Romesh is now all set for his tour entitled The Cynics Mixtape.
Romesh Ranganathan's come up really big, isn't he? Yeah, I mean, he started out sort of about the same sort of time the club started. So yeah, he's just a really talented guy, isn't he?
Comedian hasn't exactly been viewed as a career Muslim parents have traditionally pushed their children towards, has it? So it's no surprise that there are only a few Muslim comedy icons out there, but in Britain at least, all that could be about to change. London's New Acts of the Year show has given its highest award to a Muslim comedian for the first time in its 30-year history. And many of the brightest new stars on the UK circuit actually have an Islamic upbringing. Bilal Zafar from London has been described as this fresh-faced, softly spoken youngster enjoying big success in London's comedy competitions right now. He's actually the first Muslim winner of the New Acts of the Year show and was runner-up in the Leicester Square Theatre's New Act Awards. Now there's also Tej Ilyas, whose cheeky personality and confident manner have propelled him to the brink of national prominence in record time. So he started performing in 2010 and his unique way of sardonic storytelling started appearing on BBC TV and radio just literally a few short years later. Now, as a new act, he made the finals of 7 national comedy competitions. One of only a handful of hijabi comedians, Essex girl Sadia Azmat is a former call centre worker who was writing funny material long before she braved the stage for her first gig in 2010. So it was a chance meeting at her workplace with a professional comedian which really gave her the push that she needed to try her hand at stand-up. Sadia's career highlight so far is a short piece that she's made for the BBC website Things I'm Asked as a British Muslim. Her identity as a young British Muslim runs through her comedy and she really enjoys playing with and confounding her audience's preconceptions. There's also popular host Tommy Sandhu, hailing from the East End of London, who is really making his mark right now in the stand-up scene. Presenter, DJ, and stand-up comedian, his style is also captured in a regular comedy podcast called Tommy's Brownload, where Tommy and 2 fellow presenters, Tej and Sach, laugh their way through candid banter regarding all things Indian, including the Indian culture, self-deprecation, of course, and Tommy's fusion of energy, which has been labelled as Tommy's sort of injection, funny injection. It captivates people, and he came into our studios for a chat. Not only was I laughing my way through the majority of the interview, we also got to chat about his views on the British Asian comedy scene today. Now, this comedian has what I call natural flair, like my natural hair, to make anyone laugh, and his journey all began when he took part in the show Blind Date. Did you know that he eventually replaced Graham as the voice of Blind Date? How far has he come since the days of Blind Date, hey?
So I started hosting a load of comedy nights, and then that's what led into kind of going, well, actually, let's just do 5-10 minutes. Let's do 5-10 minutes at the start, tell a few stories that I think are funny, and see how we do. And they did really well. Then we did a little comedy tour, 12 dates throughout this year, throughout 2019, and now we're doing another 16 dates in 2020. And it's a real, direct, wonderful way of meeting your audience, making them laugh, seeing the whites around, and not big audiences, 200-300 people. Lovely, good size room.
British Asian female comedians are also beginning to flourish, as they sure seem to be stamping out what was once considered to be a pretty male-dominated industry. Born Born and brought up in India, Sindhu Vee is now based in London, and she pretty much splits her time between comedy and raising her 3 children and gigantic Labrador. So she was nominated for Best Newcomer at the 2018 Edinburgh Comedy Awards. She also made the finals of the BBC New Comedy Awards in 2016. But did you know that she used to be a banker and has been married for 20 years and has 3 children? So like many minority ethnic comics before her, Vee jokes about parental discipline, citing her Indian mum's no-nonsense approach. She also insightfully dissects the travails of long-term commitment and the tsunami of having children, as well as frequent references to Vee's battle of wits with her Danish husband. Vee's show, which is called Sandhu, skillfully touches on all things real, which so many British Asians and those in mixed marriages or relationships can relate to. Shazia Mirza is an English stand-up comedian, actress and writer. She's best known for her stand-up comedy, The Kardashians Made Me Do It, together with her articles in British newspapers, The Guardian and The Daily Telegraph. As an award-winning British stand-up comedian and writer, Shazia's TV appearances include Celebrities vs. Child Genius, Christmas Special 2018, The One Show on the BBC, Celebs in Solitary on C5, Travel Man, 48 Hours on Channel 4, Celebrity Island with Bear Grylls on Channel 4, The Jonathan Ross Show, ITV, Top Gear, there are so many, including Loose Women, as well as The Late Late Show, and so many more. Shazia's last show, called Coconut, launched at Edinburgh Festival Fringe in August 2019. It was this hilarious and uplifting joyride into the art of survival in a world of crocodiles, coconuts, and alpha males. Coconut will be on UK and international tour to July 2020. So I had a look on her website, shazia-mirza.com, and I saw a number of attributes to this lady: the TV, stand-up, radio, and acting. The Daily Telegraph has described her as provoking laughter and large intakes of breath, once again, brave and urgent. And the Metro newspaper says that Shazia Mirza is effective at getting under your skin and that she strikes a blow. I gotta say, this clearly is a case of a multifaceted, talented woman who has really taken the British Indian stand-up scene to another level.
I'm here in London, just been outside the comedy pub, outside the comedy store. We've also been to the top secret comedy club, which is the highest rated comedy club in London. So today, being in the heart of London here, Leicester Square, Piccadilly Circus, I want to talk to some people about their views on comedy, basically what they find funny. So I'm here in Leicester Square with Kayla, and just wanted to ask you a couple of questions about what you find funny when it comes to British comedy. Anyone in particular that you follow?
There's this one guy, but like his name escapes me now. But he has this Netflix special. He's a black guy, and his comedy is basically about growing up with an immigrant mother in the UK, and him kind of being very westernized and his mother not being. So I think that's funny to me because I can relate to it, basically.
So I'm here in Leicester Square alongside a couple of British Asian females like myself, and I just wanted to ask you girls a couple of questions on your views on what you consider to be funny, especially when it comes to British Asian comedy.
Well, there's a lot of things I find funny, not my sense of humour, obviously.
We're also looking at Brit Asians. Do you think it's an exciting time for that type of comedy to come through?
Yeah, I think so. There's actually that guy, what's his name? I can't remember his first name, but his surname is Ranganathan.
Yeah, Romesh Ranganathan. Yes.
He's funny. I find him hilarious. But yeah, I think it is an exciting time. I think because so many people can relate to that kind of comedy, and we're just getting to a place where people are more comfortable just talking about their experiences, and through comedy it kind of becomes a bit cathartic for everyone else as well.
Romesh Ranganathan, for instance, he really sort of goes into that different cultural aspects. Is that what you find that you like about his particular style?
Yeah, I guess so. And kind of how, because he's so, like, even his accent and everything is like so British, and then him talking about that kind of stuff, and it's just kind of like a turn of events, if that kind of makes sense. Which is, it's just kind of funny to hear that he can sort of relate to two very different worlds, if that makes sense. Yeah.
And so what do you think the future is like when it comes to British Asian comedians coming through?
I mean, it creates an environment that makes everything, seem more, friendly and light-hearted, and it's amusing. So yeah.
What about yourself?
I completely agree. Light-hearted, amusing, it's things that we can relate to.
Sanjeev Bhaskar, who is really part of the whole evolution of Brit Asian comedy, has stated that there are still hurdles to making it real mainstream and for Brit Asians to attract a more diverse group of people. So he said that in the chase for the mainstream, some of the Asian stand-ups have ended up with quite an unclear voice. So it's great to be able to talk about your uncles and your aunties and to do all the accent and all of that. And there's nothing wrong with that, he says. But that's not really necessarily mainstream. Sanjeev Bhaskar says that if you do it too much, it really ends up coming away from mainstream. And either way, your own voice can get a little lost. Now, I think that the fact that there hasn't been an Asian circuit probably hasn't helped. This is what Sanjeev says, that perhaps it really isn't entirely that straightforward. Paul Chowdhry, however, doesn't really see race as a bar to success. And like many of his peers, doesn't really want to be seen as an Asian or Indian comedian, but as a comedian full stop, pure and simple. Now, we had a chance to ask comedians Tommy Sandhu and Ria Lina their views on the audiences being attracted to Brit Asian comedians.
I've been in this game 20 years. I'm 43. I started out when I was 22, 23 years old with the first ever TV show. And in that time, I've realized it's only taken 3 or 4 people to make my career. 3 or 4 people, max. And we've got such a great lineup of comedians and such a great scene of comedians out there who aren't your mainstream, Live at the Apollo, Rock the Week types. But there's a whole scene of people that are just so funny, so ruthless, so edgy, so opinionated. And I just like being around them. I actually think they're wonderful people.
When you go to a comedy show, all of the, like Paul Chowdhry is a perfect example. He plays the entire mainstream circuit as you see it. He'll play all of the clubs and he has a skill set that he could play anywhere in the country. The audience will go, I enjoyed that. But going to see a comic on their own when they are the only act on display in a theater changes it into who are my people, who are my demographic, who wants to spend 2 hours with me in a room. And that's 2 different things. So there's plenty of ethnic acts, diversity in the mainstream comedy circuit as it is. That's where my bread and butter comes from on a weekly basis. I'm working that circuit. But when it comes to doing a solo show, then it comes down to who in the room enjoys what you have to say. Like Michael McIntyre sells out stadiums because what he talks about is so universally identifiable. It doesn't matter what your ethnic background is, we all have trouble getting our kids out of the house. That routine is universal to the only people who can't relate to that are people with no children.
What are the projections for Brit Asian comedians in the next decade? With the rise of the Brit Asian comedian, the future certainly seems positive as they continue to pave their way for future generations to come. Thanks to shows like Goodness Gracious Me and Citizen Khan, this wave of Brit Asians, including a wider ethnic pool of talent, has emerged, and only time will tell how they continue to branch out and entice a more international and diverse audience. So overall, the comedy scene right here in Britain is on fire right now. We've been to one of the top venues right here in the heart of London, and as you've heard, there's so much diversity, more than ever before. We all need humour in our lives, right? And with such variation, we have so much choice. So make sure you check out the top venues in London and keep enjoying all the humour out there.